Hello and welcome back. We are going to be discussing John's prisoner memorabilia collection. I asked him during our Brutal Music special if he would come back and discuss it with us, and luckily he agreed. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello John, thank you ever so much for agreeing to come back and join us again. I'm going to stay out of this for a while you explain how you got your memorabilia.
You're welcome. Good to be back. Just to start off, when you're watching a program like Prisoner and you look at I know the costumes are essentially either greys, beiges, or denim. They're just really good costumes because obviously they've got the logos on them from, Wentworth Detention Centre. But you never think, I'll own one of them one day. So it was quite bizarre. Not long after starting the program in 1990, there were issues of Blockade magazine.
Yeah.
And in one of the last issues, there was a back page spread on the merchandise that the owner of Blockade had. And I was like, you look at it, and it was like, great, he's got several uniforms and a window from Nunawading and various sort of invites, crew member sweaters, things like that. So it was always like, oh, that's really cool. And that was it. And then suddenly on eBay, one of the denim boiler suits had sort of popped up, and I was like, oh. So I purchased it, and that was sort of the start of the collection. So it was a boiler suit with a pink shirt. Now, the boiler suit had the name Roz written inside it, and I know Roz appears in the last episode, one of the close-up shots as, the end scene sort of plays out. And the shirt inside was a pink shirt, and that had Lorna written inside. So that was kind of, my first real thing of, merchandise of, original props from Prisoner. So it was a bit later on, I actually contacted the guy who run Blockade and said, would you ever sell anything else? And eventually he come back to me, and I'd set my mind on Joyce Barry's uniform. And we come to a deal, and I purchased it. It was Joyce's jacket, and it absolutely stunk of cigarette smoke, which I was surprised considering its age. But also in one of the pockets, there were broken up bits of tissue and sort of junk. It's amazing. You think these actors take these costumes off, they just get hung up, and that's the end of it. No one ever checks the pockets or anything like that. Also come with a set of keys. I don't know if they were Joyce's keys or just a random set of keys. They're quite interesting because they're all the same. They feel quite lightweight, so I'm not even sure if they were proper keys or cast from something, something else. Again, with the beige jacket had the Wentworth flashes on, so that was really something nice to have. Nice thin weight material. I suppose it was quite hot in the studio, so they didn't want anything sort of too heavy to wear. And then it sort of goes quiet, really, with the collection. It sort of dropped off for a number of years. And then I went out to Australia for the 21st anniversary event they did, which was actually held in Studio A at Nunawading. That was a real treat because I remember all standing around the main gate, sort of waiting to go in. And then we sort of slowly walked up past the area where they do the news and into the hallowed grounds of Wentworth. And it just looked really small. I was really sort of like, wow, this is just... I couldn't believe I was standing there. It completely threw me. But it was just a shame, really, because obviously at that point, 2004, Neighbours is still going. But it just felt a sort of ashamed to what they had done. I don't know why they needed to dig up, the prison garden. That had all gone. The grass in front of the prison had all gone. Porter cabins had been put in front. Some of the bottom windows had been smashed. Obviously, the entranceway has long gone. But it just looked really run down. And I just was a bit mortified by it. But anyway, on that night of the anniversary, they did an auction of various sort of props and costumes, and I remember it was one of the barred windows that sold. I actually helped carry that in. Anne Phelan had that in a camper van, and she asked for some help. So I remember carrying that in. There was a couple of beige officers' uniforms, various shirts. Rita Connor's shirt was there because it had extensions on the arms. And there was Vera Bennett's uniform. So I decided I was going, I had the beige uniform. So I decided I was going to get a grey. We won the auction and picked up Vera's uniform, which was rather nice. Loads of people wanted to try it on. And, that was such a cool night. They also, Val was wearing a 21st anniversary T-shirt, but she'd sewed sequins all over it. And she auctioned that off as well. So I purchased that. And then towards the end of the holiday, they did like a trio of stars night. There was Val, Glenda, and Lois. And one of the auction items there was Glenda's mugshot that she'd already autographed, saying the oldest biker in the world. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going for that. So I just put in a ridiculous bid and won it. And Glenda and Lois couldn't believe that I'd sort of, put that money out there because it was all for charity, for Positive Women. I added that to the collection. So by now I've got this boiler suit with the pink shirt, Joyce's uniform, and Vera's uniform. So I was like, this is really cool. Didn't expect anything else to ever come up. Prisoner sort of costumes and props are very few and far between. But then I was contacted by the fan club and they said they'd acquired some props and costumes. Would I be interested? So I ended up buying a gate guard jacket, sort of the later gate guard jacket. Unfortunately, I only had one of the big patches on that says Wentworth Detention Centre. The others had been removed over time. A Woodridge jacket, which was also the dog handler's jacket with Blitz and Amber. Jimmy Fletcher's uniform, a denim dress, which was Jacko's, and a denim jacket, which was Lurch's. So I was really kind of like, wow, that's, a lot to get, which kind of almost completed the collection. I was only really missing a beige male uniform, which I did eventually get, but I'll come on to that. So again, I took the costumes out and about. There was a couple of events. Fiona Spence come over and did an event, and Val organised the event, the Trio Stars Night, which was Val, Gerard Maguire, and Fiona Spence. So I took the costumes so everyone could see them, had them all on display. Gerard was overwhelmed that his uniform was about, so he actually wore the jacket at that event. I did a couple of memorabilia events with Val, took a couple of costumes to display, and as a thank you, she gave me the sketch that Terry Vincent drew on the programme, and she'd kept it all those years, and I added that to the collection. It's quite a nice drawing, and especially a picture you wouldn't think it would still remain. So that was really nice. I was really thankful for that. Several years go on again, nothing's around, and saw a couple of items on eBay Australia. One of them was Mrs. Powell's jacket, but all the buttons had been removed. But I missed out on that. But I did come across a visitor's ID pass, which I got. That was really nice. It had this really weird spray. I think it's called anti-glare, so it didn't reflect in the studio lights. But that's kind of gone this weird brown sort of colour. But the actual ID badge underneath is actually fine. There's no problems with it. So that was quite a cool little item. And then again through eBay, a lady decided to sell one of the sort of the green checked shirts. It was on eBay for like 9 days, and I was like, no, I can't wait that long. So I said, would she do a buy it now? Put a price in, and she accepted it. And I got one of these rather sort of unique shirts. They were sold when Prisoner had its last episode up in the central region, about 91, I think. They auctioned off a load of the check shirts again for charity, but they just don't appear. I don't know if collectors still have them or whether they've just been binned. I don't know. So they're quite rare. So I finally added a check shirt so that I could put that with the dress and the jacket to sort of have a complete Prisoner ensemble. Then really it goes very quiet until one of collectors contacted me over what I think is probably the best piece in the collection, and that was a barred window. Now, we know they took 6 windows down in the early 90s. I was at an auction where one of them was sold. I know one's in America, and there was this one. It's extremely heavy, bit rusty in part, but it's a lovely item, and it's real, it's kind of classic Prisoner, isn't it? It's Prisoner itself. It's a window from the prison. You can't get any more iconic than that. I took that to the Prisoner 40th in Birmingham that Screen Stars held. So I displayed that with everything I had, which was, yeah, brilliant. Again, after that, it goes fairly quiet. Various sort of bits popped up. Officer Ratcliffe's ID badge popped up. So I got hold of that. There were some studio floor plans. They're really interesting, the floor plans. They're all dated. You can see who designed the set. And they're very detailed. There was Meg's flat, Dennis's flat, Donna Mason's flat, Woodridge, Blackmore, the reward cell, and there was also a studio floor plan of Studio B. Looking at it, I think it's pretty much the last couple of episodes, looking at the floor plan. They're really nice and very unique to have. There was also continuity Polaroids that have popped up over the years. There seems to be quite a few of them around. Some of them actually appeared on the best of DVDs, so they're nice. And another random one was a Wentworth Detention Centre letter, sort of an envelope with a stamp on it that sort of you see on Anne's desk. They're really cool to have. A bit like the last invitation party. Again, random, because you think only cast and crew got that. I'm surprised anything is in existence. Again, things, general memorabilia, fan cards pop up. So it's, nice to get some original fan cards. And then there was some books, okay, not exactly factual, but still, it's still interesting to read. And as a collector, you want as much as you can get of general merchandise as such to original, if you can sort of afford it. Also got a mugshot of Julie Egbert. It'd already been autographed to someone else. I can't remember who it was, but it's just a bit different. I like mugshots. I've got some 8x10s where various casts have signed mugshots over the years, but this was on sort of thick card and is old, so you knew it was original. Then a couple of random things from the stage play. I managed to pick up Erica's glasses. I'm saying they're from the stage play. I haven't found them in the series yet, but I will keep sort of looking. There's only one real photo from the stage play, and it does sort of seem to match. And then I picked up Fiona Spence's stage play ID. That's very cheap. But then when you're standing on stage, no one can see that close. There's only a couple of press photos from that. And then I suppose the most recent thing I got was 960 tracks of prisoner music from various music libraries. That's great. It brings back so many memories listening to music from Prisoner, Computer Crime, Nighthawks, Flying Fists, Running Colours. It's just fantastic. It brings back so many happy memories. There's still more items out there. There's a lot of collectors that have stuff. I would certainly add to the collection. If anyone ever wants to sell anything, then you can contact Rat House and let him know. The collection's never finished. When you collect any form of props and costumes, you never finish your collection because you're always adding to it, because you're safeguarding it for the future. It's when I go, it gets passed on to someone else and they can love the costumes and look after them. I think they'll be around forever. They could end up back in Australia one day, maybe at the Melbourne Museum, because it's such an iconic show, and it would be a shame to lose them.
Well, thank you, John. I mean, the thing is, over the years, you certainly have got a lot of stuff that I know a lot of people would be envious over, including me. But I think there is something as well that you might have forgotten about.
Oh no, that's the problem. Is I know it sounds kind of big-headed in a way, but when you've got a big collection, because obviously there's other things that I collect, you sort of forget what you've got.
No, I'm the same with library music. I do have a few doubles. I have 3 copies of Fresh Treasures, which never intended to, but oh well. But no, I was going to say that I think you forgot to mention the handwritten letter by Gerda Nicholson.
Yeah, see, it's again because it's a small object, and actually, you saying that bizarrely on again eBay, there was a signed fan card with a handwritten letter from Gerda, but it was actually dedicated to John. So actually, it was quite good,
Yeah.
But the other thing I just remembered as well was I've got a lot of proof sheets from various characters, various scenes, and they're quite nice. They're a bit different. I know on the 40th anniversary in Australia, there was a whole book that sold that was full of proof sheets, and I'd love to have got my hand on that. And I do know the collector that's got it, so never say never on that one.
I'll pester them. That's what I would do. Just keep on to them until they give in. It works every time, as I know.
Yeah, I think the thing I'd love to get is obviously I'm missing these two gate guard patches,
Yeah.
so I'd love to get either another one because I know a couple of other collectors. I know one collector certainly's got one of them. That would just be nice to compete. It's a shame when things are removed off of costumes.
Yeah. When there's
Um,
no need to as well.
yeah, it's really random. When I got the male officer's uniform, the beige sort of version or khaki green, whatever color it really is, that was actually quite cool because I'd asked Val if there was any costumes left. She was actually heading out that weekend to Nunawading. She was doing some project. So she actually asked the head of global television at the time if she could go in and look. And he let her. And sure enough, there was a beige male officer's uniform. So she got that for me. And when it arrived, the Wentworth flashes weren't on there, but they were actually tucked inside the pocket. Why they were
Nice.
taken off and then put in the pocket is quite random, isn't it? But it actually come with a skirt and not a pair of trousers. So I messaged Val and said it comes with a skirt, and she was mortified that she hadn't checked. So she went back to Nunawading and found a pair of trousers, which was brilliant. And the skirt was actually Jones.
You still got that?
No, unfortunately,
Oh.
I did part with that. That went off to another collector. But sometimes that's what you have to do. You can have all this stuff, but then something else comes along, and sometimes you have to sort of work out, well, I really want that. What am I happy to part with? And I mentioned Jones' skirt, and they were like, yes, please. So off that went.
That's fair enough. I suppose it's a good bargaining tool as well.
Yeah, you do have to have certain things. Some people out there think I want this, and this, and you can have that, and it's like no, that it's not going to work like that at all. So there's things over the years that I've missed out on, but that's life. I can't complain. The collection is big in a way.
Oh,
It doesn't,
it's massive.
yeah, it doesn't take up a lot of room because a lot of it's flat. Costumes are small, paperwork side, pictures, it's all flat. It's quite unique. I certainly love it. And you think, 45 years on, you wouldn't think there'd be anything around.
That is very lucky in a way that things had been kind of forgotten about, really. Like at Nunawading, they'd just kind of been probably put in a cupboard, forgotten about.
Yeah, whether anything's still there now, I doubt it. It's probably all
Probably
gone
not.
by now. I know another I don't know if he's a collector or what to be fair, but there's someone out there that's been given a lot of stuff by neighbours casts. It's cool that there's stuff still surviving, but that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, I think I know who you mean. So probably best not to say too much. And it's a shame in a way that you're in the wrong country.
Oh, if I'd been in Australia, I think the collection would be twice as big. And I
Yeah.
definitely, if I'd been in Australia, I would have had the Wentworth Detention Centre sign because I did bid on that. But, being 12,000 miles away is a bit difficult. So if I'd been there, I think I could have secured that.
Yeah.
And I would also have one of the large windows that were on the,
I'd love one of those
yeah.
windows. You'd have two,
Yeah,
one for me.
yeah, I could. I mean, six windows. I know they're all were put in storage. They were kept safe, and one did go for auction at the 40th anniversary. So that guy's very lucky to have that.
I certainly wouldn't mind one. And I think a lot of people would love to have a window. Unfortunately, there's not enough to go round.
It's not enough to go around, but also you think the small one I've got is very heavy, so the big one must be tremendous. The weight, but it's iconic, isn't it? It's from the
Yeah.
prison itself. You just never know what's going to pop up. Life is random. eBay is random. You just never know. These things, it can go quiet for 10 years and suddenly a collector will be like, I don't like Prisoner anymore. And it'll all suddenly go onto eBay, or there'll be sort of noises around other collectors that this person's selling all this stuff. I've been collecting for a long time, and these programs have been with me for most of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to suddenly change. Oh, I suddenly, I don't like Prisoner anymore. But a lot of the younger collectors, it could be a phase, and then they suddenly grow out of it. They're not interested in it. And that's how
Yeah.
the stuff suddenly becomes available. Or you might have an older collector that passes away. The family then sell the merchandise,
Hmm.
on because they're not sure what it's worth, but they know it's from, say, Prisoner. So yeah, it's you never know. You really don't.
No, and at least when it is sold on in those circumstances, at least it is loved again and it's looked after, and then hopefully we'll go on to somebody else.
Yeah, there was a collector that I knew some years back, and she was a lovely lady. She was in her 70s, late 70s, but she was unwell and she had a lot of memorabilia, not costumes that I'm aware of, but a lot of paperwork and photos. And she passed away and the family threw it all out. That's quite a loss, really.
Terrible. If only they'd known.
Yeah, because then they could have been given to another fan. But then, do they really know what it's like the value? Not as in monetary value. It's the
It's the importance, really, isn't it?
yes, exactly of it. It's a bit like with my collection. I'm not just I've written down. It's stated. There's a will. What I want done with it. I don't want it just chucked in the bin.
Yeah.
It needs to go to another collector who will treasure it, and then hopefully go on to another collector. So it keeps going. This stuff has to survive. It's survived 45 years. It has to keep going.
Yeah, we got to get it to 100 at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if, say, 100 years from now, if the props and costumes I've got, if it has gone through various other collectors and then it ends up back in Australia in the Melbourne Museum being stored and looked after,
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
fine.
great. Yeah, that's
You
kind of
know,
what you want, really, in a way. You know, it's safe, it's regarded, it's precious, and it's going to be looked after. You don't have to worry about it. Well, not that you'll be
yeah,
able to in 100 years.
yeah. You mean to be fair, props and costumes, they don't come cheap. It's in the thousands that I've spent, but everything I've brought has been worth every single penny.
Well, you're saving it. It's not just about adding to a collection, it's about preserving and saving.
Yeah, because when you look at the current sort of state of television, lots of TV studios have closed, especially over
Yep.
here in the UK, and they're closing in Australia. And Nunawading is really it's a big site, and with
Yep.
only Neighbours in there, Neighbours has already been axed once.
I
You
don't think
know,
none of Waddin will be able to keep going for too long, even though it's supposed to have heritage status, but we don't quite know what's still happening with that.
no, that's right. We're not entirely sure exactly. I mean, the last thing I read was that the extension they built on the front of the building would be demolished. So it'd be the 1960s fascia, and we'll call it Wentworth itself, would remain. I'm not sure if the scenic dock would, which would be the loading bay, but possibly. But I know, like where all the news studio was built, that would all be demolished. But then, if it's got a heritage status and they bulldoze various parts of it. But then what do they actually do with it? Do they keep it as a small working studio? Does it get turned into a museum, a bizarre cafe? I don't think they really know what they're going to do with it.
No.
But if they do that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the windows that are left on the side of the building, that will they even remain, or will they take them down and chuck them away?
They probably will come down, but I just hope they're not chucked away.
I'd like to think that they'll keep them up there till they essentially drop off.
As long as somebody ain't underneath them, yeah.
I don't know why they ever took that first row of windows off. I've never been able to find that out. Who decided, oh, we're going to take a row off and I suppose sell them, really?
Yeah.
I mean Inside Soap, they actually held a competition to win a set of the bars. I think it was 91, I think, something like that. So they're really, in a way, I know of three out there. So there's still three missing, and then I'd like to know where the five big ones are stored. That's just part of me, though. That's I kind of want to know. Well, why did you do that? Where is this now? What happened to that? There's so much that is missing now. There. All this talk of the steam press was in a gay bar in Sydney at one point. Well, what happened to it? What happened to all the lockers, all the beds, all the costumes? Even down to like Erica's costumes and Reynolds' costumes. Did they just go into storage and then eventually, as that fashion is sort of completely out of date, was it just all taken to a charity shop and dumped? What happened to, they obviously had hundreds of vinyls for, to be used with all the library music on. What
Mhm.
happened to all that? Did it just get skipped?
Because that's what KPM done to theirs.
I suppose they look at it as once the show's finished, there's no regard for anything. It's like, right, we've got the prisoner production office, right, that's finished with, just junk everything, get rid of it. We've got to be out. And it's a shame because I was looking back at some photos of Nunawading in the early 90s. It still looked really cool because, Prisoner had finished 5-6 years beforehand and they'd taken down the fake cladding, sort of the main entrance, and the gates had gone. And they'd moved in the porter cabins at that point. The entrance to the prison, they'd taken the brick off, but the actual wooden panels were still there. The Wentworth sign was still up, but someone was attending the garden still. So the garden looked really nice. There was vegetables, there was flowers. It looked really nice. And you think that's so weird that after all that time, someone was still making an effort out there. And now it's just trashed.
Yeah, and it's nice as well, isn't it, that somebody was making that effort for basically the program wasn't even running anymore, but they still kept it going, which is very nice. Makes you wonder why, in a way. But yeah, compared to nowadays, it really does just look like an industrial estate.
Yeah, it's there's no charm there anymore.
No,
I know Neighbours has been a big success over around the world, not so much in Australia, to be fair,
no.
but Prisoner was a success in Australia. They don't sort of really give it the recognition it deserves, I feel. And somewhere like Nunawading, there should be really like a TV museum.
Perfect idea.
I'd hate it to be, oh, welcome to the Neighbours Museum. No one's interested in a Neighbours Museum, not
No,
being horrible to the show. So many programs were filmed there over the years, Prisoner being one of the most iconic. It needs to be like in a way like a Channel 0/10 museum.
and they could
But
have a bit of everything then.
yeah, a bit of everything. I mean, I didn't realise that Carson's Law was filmed there.
No, until you told me, I didn't have a clue either. And it's funny that they
Yeah,
were
so
in the rehearsal room of all places.
yeah, so that's really fascinating. I'd like to see, does that rehearsal room still exist?
And how big was it?
Yeah, exactly. Fans are fans.
Yep.
That they want to see something. They want to go to Nunawading. And the only way to get into Nunawading was the Neighbours tour. They're not going because of Neighbours. They're not interested in Neighbours. They're going to see the building itself because to them, it's Wentworth Detention Centre.
And that's the only reason I went on the tour. Nothing to do with neighbours.
Yep, exactly. I mean, we did the Neighbours tour. I just wanted to sort of see the building, even though I knew I was going later in that weekend to go into the studio. But I wanted to just do that sort of outer perimeter bit. I just think, like I'd said, a lot of TV studios are going, this needs to be saved. The Lassiter's complex for Neighbours was originally Holiday Island. It's been around, Neighbours was what, 1986? It went on Channel 10.
Yeah.
So that's been there, 40 odd years. Well, then, in a way, as much as I'm not interested, but the Lassiter's complex should be saved because it is a part of TV history.
Yeah, I'm not bothered about it either, but for the sake of what it is, yeah, it should remain and be preserved as well.
Yeah, because if you was to go to a TV museum, if Nunawading was made into this, a brand new museum, you can then have a coffee, have a beer on the Lassiter's complex. You're making it more of a day out, not just, oh, here's a building. Because then you can do tour Studio A, tour Studio B. They could recreate some of this, maybe a set from Prisoner, something from Neighbours.
Love that.
Costumes in maybe Studio A, walk up the iconic solitary staircase.
Love to do that. Love to do that.
Yeah, stand outside and look at Wentworth Detention Centre. I'd go. I'd be there. I'd probably go every day.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And also, it'd be really nice if they kind of put it back to how it looked back in 1979.
Yes, it would be lovely. But does that now mean that those 5 large windows at the bottom are stored somewhere? Would they ever be given back, or would they have to, or would they just leave it and it would only be the top 2 now? It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if they couldn't put the originals back, maybe leave all the originals where they are and build some new ones for the look.
I wonder if there's paperwork laying around, because obviously those windows would have been drawn up by someone, designed by someone. Does that paperwork still exist? Does the person that designed it, maybe they went with it? If you could replicate it as good as, I'd love to be able to walk through the main gate, and go into Wentworth. How great would that be?
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. And it will look as it was, or even some new bits that we never actually saw put there to make it kind of seem like it was always that way.
Yeah, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but they probably won't. But it is a nice thought, though.
Yeah, because the TV museum that they've got in Australia is in just outside of Melbourne, and it's a tiny little place. It's got a cinema and quite a small room. It's mainly paperwork, pictures of fan cards and bits and bobs like that in display cases. So it's not fantastic, but then you think their budget is probably virtually zero, so they're probably relying on donations. There needs to be a proper museum, a bit like what we had over here all those years ago with the moving image exhibition in London.
Though I actually wanted to go to the museum, but unfortunately, it just never happened.
It's just there's so much to do in Australia. It's time, isn't it? I mean, I wanted to go to the
Yeah.
Melbourne Museum, never got there.
Yeah, and also I wasn't even based in Melbourne. I was with family in the Gold Coast, so we only popped down to Melbourne for a day and a night and had to go back. There just wasn't time to do everything, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, we were based in Melbourne for a week, and I honestly can't remember where I stayed now. It's dreadful. I know Prisoner was filmed a lot around this area, but yeah, it's terrible. Memory's a funny thing, isn't it? I just talking on memory. I know when I spoke to Amanda Muggleton, she had completely had forgotten that she set fire to the library. I suppose you think on how many scenes they were recording a day, how long you were in the program for, how much you've done since the program.
Yeah, and how long ago it was.
Yeah, but then saying that though, even when she watched the scene of her setting fire to the library, she had no knowledge of it. She'd completely forgotten it.
Probably a nice surprise. Probably thought,
Well,
oh,
it's
this
like
is
almost,
good.
yeah, it's like watching the program again, isn't it? Something that's just popped into my head is obviously with 960 odd tracks from
Yeah,
the various library music that was used in the show, all lovingly, got from the master tapes now.
yeah.
Obviously, there's still music out there that we haven't got because obviously you're a huge collector of library music. And I know you're struggling on music from episode 1.
Yep, it's just that episode 1 music. I have bought so many albums hoping and trying to find it, but still no luck. Don't know what it could be on now.
And the music from episode 1 is actually quite iconic because it's really quite sort of creepy music in a way.
Oh, it is, yeah. It's good stuff, but was only used obviously in early episodes, a little bit later on, and then that was it, gone.
I like that piece of music when Lynn and Karen arrive at Wentworth. There's not a tune to it, like a lot of library music is just, it's creepy. It's just a creepy little piece of music, I suppose, to give the audience that
Impression.
we're going into prison.
Yeah, it's just some strings, if I remember, and little bit of brass, and that's it. It's quite simple, really, but it works, and I want it. Same as when Karen's walking up the stairs to go and do her husband in. You just got those timpani going bomb, bomb. But I want that as well.
It's just finding out what music library provided it at the time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's not Chapel because it would probably never come back if it's down to Universal.
It's a bit like Tony Osaka. He would have had a cue sheet that he would have written out. So if that paperwork survived, we'd know exactly what he used and where it come from.
Yep, because we would get the composer's surname, we would get the library and track title. That's all we need.
Yeah. So if anyone out there's listening, episode
Please.
1 music.
Please. Because then, 30 years of searching would have come to an end. So I'll be very pleased.
It is a long time, but obviously, as you just said, 30 years of collecting vinyl and CDs of library music. How many albums do you have in your collection?
You know, I don't know. Probably CDs, maybe about, I don't know, looking round, maybe, 5,000. Wow. About 1,000 vinyl, maybe. I mean, I'm not with vinyl at the moment. They're off stored somewhere else. So it's hard to kind of say. But yeah, maybe 1,000. I'm not sure.
You've got your own prisoner collection as well.
No, I do. Yeah, courtesy of you.
Well, you've got what, various Polaroids?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Again, some of them used on the best of DVD.
Yep, spotted one yesterday.
Meg's flat.
Yep, I have Meg's flat.
The set design for that. The condemned building where Meg and Anna held hostage, and that's the weirdest thing. Is dated on your birthday?
It is. So as I was being pushed out, that was being drawn up.
Which is, I think it's brilliant because as you said before, it's one of your batch of favourite episodes.
Oh, I love anime getting kidnapped. Okay, Elspeth spoils it a little bit, but it's still brilliant.
You've also got a crew member sweater, haven't you?
Do you know what? I'd forgotten about that because, again, unfortunately, I haven't seen or been with them for a few years now. But yes, I have. I've forgotten about him.
And then I think that's around about sort of 84, I think.
I take your word for that because you're the expert when it comes to that.
And then, of course, you've got the DVD collection.
Yeah, I've got it twice, kind of. I've got the big box and then the UK volumes.
Yeah, autographs, lots and lots of fan cards from various events.
Yeah, I've got autographs. Probably one of my favourites. I can't say my absolute favourite because they're all brilliant. It's got to be Maggie.
Yeah, again, iconic character.
Yeah, and she was fun. She was scary but brilliant all at the same time.
What's your favourite thing in your collection?
Oh, I'm allowed to have two. Oh,
Okay.
oh, it's really difficult. I've said two now. Hang on a minute. I'm going to say Polaroids.
Yeah.
Because I do love them. And well, I'm going to do two in one. The floor plans.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they are unique. There's only one of them.
Yeah, and they're all framed up very nicely as well. They do look very good on the wall. And hopefully they'll be back where they belong on the wall soon.
And maybe one day, at like a 50th anniversary event, you'll display them.
Yeah, well, I did have some of my stuff along with all of your stuff at the 40th in Birmingham.
That's right. You did indeed.
Yeah, which was kind of fun because, again, when you have something on the wall and you look at it every day and you kind of really forget, what it is in a way. And everyone was amazed by it and were like, oh, wow, look at that. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I see that every morning.
Yeah, you become a bit
blasé, I suppose.
Yeah, that is the word. Because I remember when I was setting up for the 40th, and it's only when you're putting costumes onto mannequins, you're like, oh yeah, I've forgotten how good that is.
It's because you're with it all the time. It's like with the prison music. In a way, I take some of that for granted because, well, I've got them.
Yeah. See, with me, when I listen to the prisoner music, it's just I don't listen to it that often, but when I do, the memories that come flooding back with it, and it puts you into that happy place.
I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm listening to it, I can either see scenes from the program or I can see scenes that I'd like to film myself.
Yeah, I know where you are on that.
Yeah, it's just licensing. It costs so much money when you're not a professional, as you can probably tell, dear listener. And also, don't forget, I do have some proof sheets as well, the photographs.
Do you?
Yeah, I got some of Rabbit and Bobby outside of Wentworth.
That's right. Yeah. See, it's been a while since I've seen the frames, and I know obviously the frames are all going to be all redone, huge makeover on your collection at some point. So that's going to be quite exciting to see your new updates.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait because the walls at the moment are so bare. They need to go back up and come home.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, and also I've got a Wentworth flash from the stage play of 1990.
That's right, from Fiona Spence.
Yes, which you organised for me.
That's right. Oh, blimey. See, again, it just shows you how, as you say, you take everything for granted and you become blasé about it. And especially when it's not up on walls, you just forget what is in the collections.
Yeah, especially when you can't see it, because unfortunately, I'm not with it, like I said, so I can't even get to see it. So I probably have forgotten about some stuff.
Yeah, because when you redo all the frames and it all goes back on the wall, it will be like a brand new collection. You'll be looking at everything going, oh wow, oh my god, I've forgotten about that. That's so cool. And yeah, it's going to be it's going to be really nice. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, and also some of the stuff I haven't seen for 5 years now. Various fan cards, Susie Driscoll's autograph, Betty Bobbitt's.
Then of course you've got the random, as I always like to call it, your signed DVD sleeve by Paddy Kingsland.
Oh, yes, I've forgotten about that. Yes, because obviously his music featured quite heavily in that particular volume. So we got that one signed by him.
It's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Then I tend not to look in my box anymore because every time I open the lid, it's just like, oh, sleeve missing. So my brain tells me that it's there.
Yeah, best way.
Yeah, then I can't pine too much. As well as the usual, like the Blockade magazine, Wentworth Star, novels. And I don't know, if it counts or not, but I've also got a cup from the Prisoner musical in 97.
Oh, the Lily Savage musical, yeah.
But yeah, I had a great time.
It was stupid, but actually it was quite entertaining. I quite liked it. I'd love to see it again.
So would I. It's a shame it wasn't recorded.
Yeah, that is a shame, because that was a good night.
Yeah, and also,
That was a stage door night.
what, you went to the stage door?
Yeah. So the only person I didn't actually, this is quite bizarre. So it's Prisoner Cell Blockade musical starring Lily Savage. I was not interested at all in meeting Paul O'Grady. I literally went to the stage door to meet Maggie Kirkpatrick.
I would have been the same.
So I got all this sort of the incidental cast. I got most of them because they all come out first, so I got their autographs in my, the brochure. But when Maggie come out, I was just like, oh my god, she signed the brochure, and I had a photograph taken with her, and she was lovely. She was really nice. That was my first cast member I ever met. That was back in '98.
I wish I could have met her. When I went, it sounds stupid saying, but when I went to the musical, never occurred to me about going to the stage door afterwards. I didn't know that was a thing because I was only about 13.
Yeah, literally, it was the plan straight away. Musical, soon as that curtain goes down, out straight round to the stage door.
Yeah, never occurred to me. So where did you see it?
I think it was Shaftesbury Avenue up in London.
Oh, okay, you're posh. I was in Wimbledon.
Yeah, well, when they did the Wimbledon run, the plan was to go and see it again, but I broke my ankle and foot at that point, so it was like 6 weeks, couldn't move, so I missed
You
out
missed
on that.
out. You did. And also, it would have been funny if you would have gone the same night as me.
That would have been hilarious. I'd love to have seen the '90s stage plays, but I'd only just got into the program at that point. But that would have been cool because of the original cast.
Oh, I didn't even know it existed. I mean, back in 1990, I would have been, I don't know, 7. Even though I was watching Prisoner and loved it, but I didn't know nothing about the stage play. No internet, no Facebook to tell you anything, so missed out on that.
No, that's right. Because I remember watching Prisoner back in the day, and suddenly you got at the end of the credits, about the books that were being released. The
Yeah,
Showdown and A Dangerous Affair, and
yep.
that was the only way you'd ever find anything out.
If they bothered to tell you, because sometimes things would just be released, and this goes for a lot of things, just released with no advertising, no nothing.
Yeah, and as you
But
say, back in the great day before the internet was around, so you really, it could be a small newspaper article or nothing.
yeah, and it was normally nothing.
Yeah.
But I did pick up copies of A Dangerous Affair and The Showdown.
Yeah, it
Soon
makes
as
you
I,
wonder actually, just randomly, us
mm,
saying that there's no internet. I wonder if they had, whether you would have found it on CFAX.
I don't know if it
Yeah,
would have been on teletext or not. I know Channel 5 had a prisoner page on their 5 text, didn't they? That was always quite fun.
but it just shows you how things have moved on from things like teletext, CFAX, and
I miss it.
yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, I'd always on a Friday come home from school and read Dear Nick, see what other people's problems were, and then you had the quiz. What was it? Bamboozled or something.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like doing that, but then they got rid of it. I was just like, oh,
But that was the classic days of iconic television, 70s and 80s.
yeah. That's kind of where Prisoner belonged as well. It was great having it back on telly in the 90s.
Yeah, and obviously now it's back on My Five.
Yeah, I mean, is it bad to say, but it's not the same. The
It's
fact
not
you
the
can
same.
just the fact you could just go in, press any episode you like, that the whole, I don't know, the whole experience isn't the same of kind of waiting for Thursday and counting down the hours and getting the tape ready and making sure it's in the right place so you don't record over last week's bit and then cutting the adverts out. Can't move. Everybody sit still. No moving because no one was allowed to talk.
I think if you look at it, I think nowadays we're in a nation we want everything now. We've become an impatient nation where back in the past you would wait. You'd get to your
Yeah,
cliffhanger on a Tuesday night. You had to wait till the Thursday night. Fine. We're just, oh my god, binge watch.
but it was special
It,
times though.
it was special times. It was special times, and it was interesting that when you talk to people and they say to you, "Oh, what programs are you into?" And you say, "Oh, should I say it?" You say, "Oh, Prisoner Cell Blockade." They go, "Oh, B and Lizzie," and they
Mm,
watched it. And a lot of that original generation that watched it has gone, but luckily it's carried on, and it's still carrying on with the reimagination with Wentworth.
yeah.
That's got fans into Prisoner. It's gonna live forever.
Oh, absolutely. Ain't going nowhere. And all I ask is that they kind of have better tapes available. If you're going to show it on telly, brilliant, brilliant. But can we actually have better quality tapes?
Well, tapes that have not got cut scenes in.
Yeah, massive, like, minutes missing. And it's just like, no, that's not fair. Come on, Fremantle, you can do better than that.
Well, the amount of money Prisoner has earned, Fremantle, you think they'd give it a bit of respect, but the problem is all they're interested about is just whacking it out and getting more money. They don't care.
Yeah, and they're oblivious probably to the fact that the episodes they're providing everyone are heavily edited. They probably haven't got a clue.
No, they need to put someone in charge that actually gives a damn.
Yeah, like Doctor Who did. Sorry to go on to that Doctor Who, but they put fans in charge of the restoration.
I mean, I can think of one fan
Mm.
who used to run Blockade. I won't say his name because he might not want me to mention his name. Someone like him in charge of a proper release of Prisoner on DVD would be, I think, really good because he would source the material so it would be episode 1 to 692 fully uncut.
And that's all we want.
Yeah, it's all we want. You need someone that's got the drive and the passion, and he's got the passion for the program. And I think it would be a great release. And fans out there need to start lobbying, whether it's Shock again or Umbrella or Kaleidoscope. One of these Australian companies need to start listening to us and actually give us a proper release.
I'd buy it again.
So would I. I think everyone would buy it again. If they said it was uncut, we'd all be there.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the season box sets. I think they were a good idea. But again, it's just the same stuff that Shock rolled out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no.
Not good enough.
Mm-mm. No, I definitely want uncut. And also, put it on a Blu-ray. I know it won't make the picture look any better, but for storage, you could get nearly a season on it, on a few discs.
Yeah, Blu-ray release, upscale it. I think it would. I think it would work. And also, come on, you make these documentaries. There was that documentary that we had those tiny little clips of on the Best of Volume 3.
Yeah.
Documentary never come out. Well, just release the bloody thing. Let us see it.
I'd love to see that because, and again, how long ago was that? That was years ago now.
Yeah, long time ago. Probably nearly sort of 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, I'd love to see it because they teased you and said it was being released soon. And then that was it.
And it's like all these random things that have turned up over the years that are on YouTube, like the Drink Drive advert, the special effects of Lizzie burning Sid's house down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the set tour that Maggie did,
which is great.
Decent quality. Well, to be fair, I don't care if the quality is a bit ropey, but why can't we get some decent extras?
Because we were promised like fantastic extras as well on the DVDs. And they were absolutely awful, most of them.
Yeah, we were promised outtakes, and that Volume 40 had a special bonus disc that only comes with the box set, and it didn't, and we were shortchanged. And
it's nothing special in there anyway.
No, it was a load of crap.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. Like, was that it? And also, even down to the interviews. To be honest, they could have easily got more people to do some commentaries.
I remember when the Best of Volume 2 was going to be released. I remember looking that up online, and it said that it would have commentaries from Val and Maggie. So when it came out and they weren't there, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I wonder why that didn't happen. But that would have been great to hear.
Yeah. There's so many people that they could have had but didn't bother with that makes the release disappointing. I'm glad it got released. I'm surprised it got released. It could have been better.
When it was first released, they said it would probably be a budget release in cardboard sleeves. And now you wouldn't mind if the episodes were a bit shonky. Being that you're thinking, well, I've only paid a little bit for it. But considering it cost over $1,000, you'd want it to be perfect.
It was an expensive box set for not a lot.
You had the Spider Simpson stuff missing. The shootout with the Janet Dominguez stuff, that was missing originally. And it's only because we kind of kept on that we got it back. But very disappointing. And also all the disc errors.
Yep, there was a lot of disc errors. And actually, randomly, is... when you emailed Shock for your replacement discs, the lady that was dealing with it was a woman called Erin Gill, which was Terry Gill's daughter.
Do you know what I was going to say? I was going to say I know that name. And it was Inspector Grace's daughter.
Nice little random thing if people didn't know that.
No, I didn't. And even I kind of did deal with her, but I never twigged, to be honest. Yeah. But well, I'm still technically waiting for one of my discs. Never got it.
Great.
Which is, it's on the the volume when the front cover's got Rita in her pajamas.
Oh, it's like volume 38 or 39, isn't it? It's right towards the end. Is that the one that skips the whole chapter?
Yeah, I think it's the orange one. So what would that be? Disc 2?
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to say disc 2, even I'm not sure. But yeah, skips a whole chapter. And I've been trying, I tried to get a replacement for that, but never happened.
It was a rushed release, really, wasn't it?
Oh, massively, yeah. There was so much wrong with it. Let's hope one day we do get an uncut release. I mean, the master tapes are sitting there in Canberra. Why can't we use those?
Well, why can't they release the Frankie Doyle story? Something different, isn't it? I know it's been floating around, sort of a low quality copy for a few years, but why not have a proper release of that?
Yeah, that would be good. Get that on a proper DVD and get the artwork and also just own it rather than kind of having to kind of bootleg it off of the internet at low quality.
It would be, again, it's money, isn't it, for Fremantle that they could be having. It puts it out there again as well.
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well, right? I know it doesn't matter to us so much, but Universal knows Prisoner used library music. The Wolf knows. KPM know. Why can't they release a soundtrack?
Well, it's not like they've got to go to Fremantle for it.
No.
I suppose they'd go to Fremantle if they needed to use any imagery, but
Yeah.
essentially that's probably not going to cost them too much because they own the music.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Andrew at Universal, I said you could even probably get away with any logos or images. You could just say, like 70s cult television, but really, we would all know what that means.
Yeah, even if they could use the word 70s cult television prisoner.
Yeah, or even just put as used in and then list programs.
Yeah.
Because so many use the same, it kind of covers the Sweeney, the Famous Five, Prisoner, Bergerac, Return of the Saint. It covers everything then, really.
Exactly.
But they just don't seem bothered.
They probably don't think it's viable, even though it would be. Just in
Yeah.
general, people do like library music.
So like I said to Andrew at Universal, if they released Drama Montage commercially, it would sell. And a few years later, well, they did release it. Now, I don't know if that was anything to do with me. I'm going to say it was. But, it sold well. So I do think a Prisoner soundtrack would sell really well.
It would do. The fans would certainly buy it. I'd buy it for sure.
Especially if they were all remastered, because the Universal stuff hasn't been remastered. So it's quite tapey, some of it, and there's little glitches that could easily all be fixed. So yeah, I'd buy it and all. It would be nice. Like I said, they're all aware Prisoner used it.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Is they're aware of it, but they, it's going to make money, but they just can't be bothered. They're too focused on, I don't know, some rubbish nowadays.
Yeah, that's the trouble. They are all just focused on like the newer sounding stuff, the big orchestral trailer stuff. That's all they're interested in. But I hate to mention it, I've got Pete in me ear telling me that time's up. So I suppose we really should wrap it up. But I would just like to say thank you ever so much for joining me again.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry if we put anybody listening to this to sleep.
Well, if they did, I hope they slept well.
Oh, me too. I mean, this could be like some new sleep meditation. But no, thank you again. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you again. Yeah, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.